All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on this whole cloud computing thing. We're going to skip all the boring theory and the super complex diagrams. Instead, we're going to do something real. You and me, right now, are about to launch your very first server in the cloud. Let's do this. But let's back up for just a second. Have you ever really thought about it? How does a website or an app actually get on the internet so that anyone in the world can see it? How does it go from just being code on some developer's laptop to being live for millions?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. You launch a server. That's it. That's the engine that makes the internet go. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. So think of this less like a lecture and more like a mission we're on together.
Now, don't worry, we're not going to go out and buy some big, heavy, blinking metal box and stick it in a closet. That's the old way. The real magic of the cloud is that we don't have to own any of the hardware. We're just renting the power we need for exactly as long as we need it. And that power has a name. It's called compute. Really, it's just a bundle of resources. You've got the CPU, which is the brains, the RAM, which is the short-term memory, and storage for the long-term memory. In the world of Amazon Web Services, or AWS, the service that lets you rent all this is called the Elastic Compute Cloud, but pretty much everyone just calls it EC2, and that's our foundation. So, to build our server, we're going to need a toolkit. And I want you to think of it like a set of digital Legos. Let's go through the essential pieces we're about to snap together. Okay, the main Lego block, the absolute core of this whole project, is called an instance. So when you hear a tech person say they spun up an EC2 instance, all they're really saying is that they launched a virtual server. This is the digital machine we're about to bring to life. An empty server isn't super useful on its own, right? That's where the AMI comes in. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. The best way to think of it is as the blueprint or the instruction manual for our Lego block. It's a template that's already got an operating system like Linux and other stuff pre-installed. It saves us a ton of setup time. Next up, instance type. This one's easy. It's just the size and power of our Lego block. You can get tiny little ones, you can get absolutely massive ones. Some are built for heavy thinking, others have tons of memory. For our mission today, we're going to use something called a T2.micro. It's perfect for what we're doing, and best of all, it's part of the AWS free tier, so it won't cost you a dime. Now, we can't just build this server and leave the front door wide open. We need a LUC and we need a key. That is exactly what a key pair is. It's a super secure, unique cryptographic key that proves it's really you when you try to connect. If you don't have the key file, you're not getting in. Simple as that. And the last piece in our toolkit is the security group. Think of this as the bouncer, or maybe the fence with a gatekeeper for our server. It's basically a virtual firewall where we get to make the rules. So for example, we'll make a rule that says, hey, let normal web traffic in on port 80, and another rule that says only let us connect securely on port 22. It controls everything that comes in and goes out. All right, our toolkit is officially assembled. We know all the pieces. So now it's time for the main event. Let's put this all together and actually launch a live web server. This is it. This is where the theory stops and reality begins. Let's get the server online. The whole process is really just a simple 5-step countdown. First, we choose our template. That's the Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Second, we pick our power, the free T2 Micro. Third, we create and download that unique key that only we have. Fourth, we set up the network, basically just telling it to have a public address and opening the gates for web traffic and for us. And then we just hit that big, beautiful launch button. Okay, so once it's launched, it's live, and it has a public IP address. Now, don't let this code on the screen scare you. To get inside our server, we use these 2 simple commands. The first one, chmod, is just a security thing. It locks down our key files so only we can read it. Then, the second command, SSH, is what actually uses that key to open a secure tunnel right into our server. And just like that, we're in. But right now, it's just an empty digital room. It's not a web server yet. So we run 2 final commands. The first one installs the web server software. In this case, it's called Apache. The second command just flicks the on switch and starts that software up. And that's it. You did it. Seriously, that's all it takes. In just a few minutes and a couple of quick commands, you have a real working web server that is live on the internet, accessible from anywhere in the world. Just take a second to let that sink in. That is a huge deal.
Okay, mission accomplished. But wait, before we celebrate, there's one super important thing we have to talk about now that our server is running. This is the part that can save you from a surprise bill. We need to understand the difference between stopping and terminating an instance.
Let's break it down. Stopping an instance is like putting your laptop to sleep. The machine turns off, but everything on its hard drive is saved, and you can wake it back up later. But, and this is key, you're still paying for that storage. Now terminating, that's like taking a sledgehammer to the laptop. It's gone, forever. It completely deletes the server, the storage, everything. You can't get it back, but all the charges stop immediately. So here's the #1 takeaway I need you to remember. Always terminate resources you are done with. If you just stop them and forget about them, you could get a surprise bill for that storage you're not even using. Terminate means the meter stops running completely. So, we just became masters of the virtual server. But, the world of cloud is always moving forward. What if I told you there's a way to run your code without ever having to think about a server at all? Well, that brings us to the next frontier, something called serverless computing, with a service named AWS Lambda.
So let's just do a quick comparison. With EC2, the thing we just built, you manage the server. It's always on, and you're paying for it by the hour. With Lambda, AWS manages all of that infrastructure for you. Your code literally only runs when it's needed, and you get billed for the tiny fractions of a second it's actually running. It's a completely different way of thinking.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? We just saw with our own eyes how incredibly easy and fast it is to get a full-blown server up and running on the internet. So if it's that simple, why is the entire tech industry so excited about a future where we don't have to manage servers at all? Why on earth would you choose to go serverless? That's a puzzle for next time.